bro? Did Marvel Studios just get exposed? Because we just got a whole bunch of insane news and details about the behind-the-scenes drama between BoD and Marvel Studios. And I'm letting you know right now, some of this news really might shock you. Because not only do we have some insane drama going on, but we also got some details on X-Men 97, the troubled production behind Blade, or lack thereof production, and some very interesting things about the upcoming X-Men reboot movie. But either way, me and you know what we gotta do. We gotta talk about it. And all of this news comes to us from BoD himself, who, in case you don't know, was the creator and showrunner on X-Men 97. I believe he also wrote an episode of Moon Knight, as well as worked on the script for Blade for just Marvel Studios. He also has other credits like the Witcher series and so on and so forth. Well, over the weekend and a couple weeks ago, Bo gave us some very interesting details and breadcrumbs about the creative process over at Marvel Studios. Now, to catch you up to speed, in case you aren't familiar with the situation, BoD, I believe a day before X-Men 97 premiered on Disney Plus, was fired from Marvel Studios. And I still remember at the time, everyone was like, oh man, X-Men 97 probably wasn't even good. But after you, me, everybody in their mama watched a couple of the episodes, and after the season was over, everyone was like, what the fuck? This is like the best thing Marvel Studios has ever done. Why would they fire Bo? Well, if you were to ask Bo himself, it was because he posted a gay pride art on his Instagram account. But it turns out that Marvel Studios, they didn't like that. Not one bit. So then we got this article from Variety that essentially had a statement from Marvel saying that he was fired for egregious behavior and misconduct, which includes allegations of sexual misconduct, allegedly sending inappropriate photos, and groping a staff member, etc., etc. Now, Bo did release an entire 30-minute video on his YouTube kind of explaining the situation and denying all of these allegations and explaining it in further detail. Now, that was a couple months ago, and I believe they are still in a legal battle, so this is still up in the air. But honestly, I don't really care about that situation. I want to more so talk about what BoD has been talking about recently, the past couple of weeks. Because while you can try to discredit him for these allegations, I still believe what he is saying has a lot of merit because it's actually been said by other creators before. And I originally wasn't going to make this video because I was like, well, if I make this video, people are going to think I'm siding with him, I'm siding with them. Nah, I'm just laying it all out on the table and just trying to get the facts straight. Because again, these are all just allegations at the end of the day. I more so don't really care about the legal troubles between Bo and Marvel Studios. I'm more so interested in the creative process or lack thereof creative process over at Marvel Studios because it's been showing in their projects recently. And it was like lightning in a bottle today. We literally just got this news from Nia DaCosta saying that she thinks one of the reasons why the Marvels didn't work was lack of a solid script, which is just going to wreak havoc on the whole process. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Nia DaCosta's game, I think she's one of the more creative directors working today, and she has said multiple times that the movie that she made for the Marvels was dissected and cut to bits. With this situation, and even more recently in the Fantastic Four, you could tell there was a lot of cuts in that movie. Well, all of these situations bring validity to what BoD is about to say with what I'm about to share with you. And I'm sorry, Kevin Feige, I love you, but I just got to speak facts because I really want these movies to start becoming better. Now, a lot of people might view this as Bo being overly negative, and yeah, he probably is to a certain extent, but there's a lot of truth in what he's about to say. But I do want to point out this message here where he says that he just wants Marvel Studios to try to find their way back as a studio. And from all of the passion he poured into X-Men 97, this is a guy who just knows his shit. He knows comics. He has a lot of love and care for these characters, the properties, and the original creators of those properties. Because he is an artist, he's a creator. And this last paragraph right here, I think speaks volumes. Something to remember though, like us, Marvel Studios is trying to find their way back as a studio. The results of their journey will largely rest on their ability to ruthlessly examine themselves creatively, ethically, and morally. I really do wish them the best in that labor because artists, employees, fans, and the characters we love will ultimately be the ones who enjoy the fruits of such atoning. So now let's actually get into what Bo had to say about the creative process over at Marvel Studios and his Blade script, which I think is phenomenal. So on August 8th, BoD took to Twitter to say this: like Matt Shakman and the writers of the Fantastic Four, I've sat in the creative meetings at Marvel Studios. They're horrible. You basically sit in a room with Kevin Feige and Lou D'Esposito and try to pitch your movie while also realizing that Kevin just wants you to dictate his rushed thoughts. Victoria Alonso used to be in these, but Kevin and Lou had so mistreated her that in one of my Blade meetings, she showed up with sugar cookies she had baked to try to help morale. You're even told not to try to pitch ideas from the comics because Lou isn't a big comic guy and it'll turn him off. You sit and talk about craft and story and characters only to have Kevin and Lou say, yeah, well, all we need to do is make sure it's fun, and etc., etc. There's no spark, there's no vision. Marvel is a slaughterhouse factory where you watch fresh meat get spoiled as it slowly makes its way through the assembly gears of mediocre thinking and the weird hatred for their own product. This is why famous comic artist and Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld isn't just some bitter old man. Talking about the comic book writers is met with open contempt. I had to fight to get the Lualds involved in X-Men 97, and even then, the dismissive news with which Dana Vasquez Eberhardt spoke about them, basically telling me the OG creators were meant to be seen, not heard, to appease the fans. I wanted to co-write an episode with them, and that was Dana's response. I even remember wanting to talk to Chris Claremont and being shut down just as I was scolded for being too friendly with fans or coming off too much as a fan. Yeah, I can think of a lot of MCU movies that are just seen as fun. But now let's hear more so about BoD's Blade meeting because it's got some insane comic lore to it. This was in a meeting where I was pitching that we could use Blade as a chance to pick up the dangling threads from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness when it came to Wanda and the Darkhold. We could use Varney and the Darkhold cultists. One of my drafts opened with Deacon Frost tricking some British explorers to trek up to Mount Wundagore where he does blood magic to reveal the vampire spell used by Varney and his followers during the days of Kull. It would start tying some of these threads together. I even had the same monsters from Doctor Strange show up to kill the explorers before Deacon reveals he's a vampire and kills them. Up until that point, he'd been covered against the cold in daylight. This was set before Doctor Strange 2, so a lot of the stuff played ironically while also having Frost give us more details about Cthon, who we only glimpsed in Doctor Strange 2. And to Kevin's credit, he liked the idea as well as my pitch that magic is to Blade what snakes are to Indiana Jones. He hates magic. But then Lou felt it was too comic book while Mahershala bumped on there being magic in the film tonally. And then I watched as them and Nate Moore picked it apart and we were off to a new draft. It's just a broken machine, and so I can see where Matt Shackman and his team probably had great ideas only for Marvel's arrogance to destroy them. Now, I'm not even gonna hold you. That's a man that just fucking understands comic books, understands Blade, and understands what we all want to see out of this fucking character. All while tying it into the lore that you've already created within the context of the MCU. Like, what are we talking about? And funny enough, today we just found out that Todd Williams is gonna be voicing Blade in Marvel Zombies, not even Mahershala Ali himself. I think we can all but confirm that Mahershala Ali is probably never gonna be Blade. Also, remember how the Secret Invasion creators bragged about not reading the comics? Well, this is how Marvel does it.
Hey, I just got to cut in real quick to say, we could tell you guys did not read the Secret Invasion comic because that shit was ass.
The assistant to the lead producer actually does all the reading of the comics and creates a development doc that covers the comics and that includes pitches for which villains or characters to pull a run from. This is done so the actual producer, who's collecting quite a paycheck, doesn't have to actually read the IP they are making movies from, and then the producer and Kevin read and give notes on the development doc to narrow down ideas to create a final doc. Then, per what we've heard and what I've seen, the writers are told not to read the comics, but instead to read and develop a pitch
Using the development doc that outlines the parameters of the story they could tell. Thankfully, Brad Winderbaum knew better to insult my intelligence by handing me that doc.
Bo also said that he once got scolded because he emailed Kevin and the other Marvel executives by greeting them with an email that started with "Greetings, executives." He was immediately told that Kevin does not like being called an executive because he sees himself and his parliament as artists. Now, there are other things that Bo goes on to mention, like Kevin Feige not even showing up to the premiere of X-Men 97, having resented the project because people, the general audience, view it as like one of the best things Marvel Studios has ever done, and Kevin had no say in that at all. And even saying that he paid $7,000 out of his own damn pocket to pay for a rap party that celebrates all of the creatives, artists, and everyone that worked on the show of X-Men 97. But Marvel Studios themselves did not shell out for that rap party. And he also goes on to detail why he has little faith on why the X-Men are going to succeed in the MCU because Kevin Feige is trying to change it vastly, like we already saw with all of his changes to Kamala Khan. Whew! I feel like that Jimmy Butler play off me, but that's basically a high-level overview of this entire drama beef. I'm sure we're going to continue to get even more details. That's everything that we know about this situation and the creative process behind Marvel Studios. I do think it's funny that the Secret Invasion directors were told not to read comics because that's a fact. We saw that director talk about that. So whatever you choose to believe, I think we can all agree on that. Marvel Studios just needs to get back to making good fucking movies. I get it's a business at the end of the day and you want to sell as many tickets as you can. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. And the funny thing is, like, a couple of their best movies this year, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, were not seen by anyone because of all the bad faith from all the previous years. I do want to give Marvel Studios the benefit of the doubt because they are one of the only studios that actually has like a 10-year plan planning ahead. And I think the pandemic did kind of fuck that up a lot. But this is just, I love Marvel Comics ever since I was a kid. I love these characters. I just want to see them succeed. So, you know, whatever you think about this situation, I think we can all agree, like I said, we just want good fucking movies. But let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below. And as always, like and follow for more.